Well, the thing about it is like, Can't Hurt Me was, I call it your bachelor's degree. It was the very basic nuts and bolts about how to get up and stop feeling sorry for yourself. And the funny thing about it is that most people who hear me, they hear me cuss all the time. They hear me cuss, they hear me going off, carry the boats, carry the log. They hear all this hoopla, but they don't understand, man. There's a very, very, very philosophical side of David Goggins. And that's the side that book right there, Never Finished, gives them, is that's the real me. Like what they see me in a 1-minute video when I'm hyped up. And the whole idea about that 1-minute video is that I'm trying to get you off the couch. And I don't have 10 to 20 minutes to give you some great philosophy about why we need to get off the couch. I just need to spark your ass off that couch. But when I write these books, I'm able to go deeper. I'm able to grab your attention, hold it, make you sit there and simmer on some of these thoughts. So my whole life is not some big hoopla pep rally. My whole life is about going into the dungeon and going into that area where I can go through all this and become a philosopher. I really am a philosopher, man. A philosopher about the mind, about how far we can go. And the first book didn't do that. And I did it on purpose because no one knew who David Goggins was. So I'm not going to give you Never Finished first, because I haven't really gone out here and told you who David Goggins is. So now they knew who I was, and now I can bring it to the next level. And what's funny about that, my friend, the third book that no one's even heard about, that's almost done, it puts that book to shame. I was born with a very abusive father, beat the hell out of me every day, was an alcoholic. I ended up suffering with toxic stress. The last incident that happened in our family was my dad came home one night from work real drunk, and when he got drunk, he got real violent. He had me go in the room, take all my clothes off. This was very typical. It's a typical day for our family. And you didn't have to do anything like major for him to beat your ass. He just get mad and just beat you up. So I was about 8 years old, and my dad had me go in the bedroom. He was very tactical, mind tactics. Had me lay on the bed, 90-degree angle, so my butt was hanging off. Door shut, so my back was facing the door. And I waited there for 45 minutes. He walked up and was beating me all over the place. My mom saw it, she walked in, and it was one of the worst beatings I ever got. She said something to him, set him off. He smacked her in the face, knocked her out, grabbed her by her hair, dragged her down the stairs by her hair. We ended up leaving Buffalo, New York, and we went to a small town in Brazil, Indiana. So at this time, my mom's, she did this for 17 years. I did it for 8. And her soul was taken by him. I was all messed up, had a horrible foundation, and we moved to a place called Brazil, Indiana. Brazil, Indiana was about 15 minutes from Center Point. Center Point was the hub of the KKK at the time. So there's about 5 black families. We were one of them. So coming from this foundation from Buffalo, New York, and moving to this area, it was horrible for me. But when you're young, being a young black kid with a bunch of whites wasn't that bad. And like I said, about 5 black families. But I didn't realize I had a severe learning disability. Because like when I was growing up, I never went to school. My dad had us work in the skating rink, the family business. He didn't believe in going to school. So fast forward, my third grade year comes, and I'm copying the whole time. I'm cheating on every test because they want to put me in a special school. We all know what special means. You're about to be, have a nice title on you for the rest of your life. So when I heard this, I started just cheating. So when I got to my junior year in high school, I had a 3rd grade reading level. My mom never saw a report card. We lived in a $7 a month place. We lived in a government subsidized apartment, food stamps, all that good stuff. And when I was about 14 years old, my mom met a guy. So we moved from Brazil, Indiana to Indianapolis, Indiana. He got murdered. When he got murdered, we moved back to Indianapolis, Indiana, Brazil, Indiana. By this time, the kids were grown. And when you're young, they don't know black and white. You're just David Goggins. When you get in high school, they start realizing you look a little different. So I got my car. My first car I ever got was a brown Citation. I pull up to school, leave it there all day, come out of school and spray paint on it was gonna kill you. So this went on from my sophomore year to my senior year. But my junior year, I was like, I gotta get the hell out of Brazil, Indiana. And I was like, I wanna go in the Air Force. I had to get out of here, let me join the military. So I went to the military and the guy was like, hey, you gotta take an ASVAB test. Having a 3rd grade reading level, I didn't know you had to take a test to get in the military. So the ASVAB test, I sit down trying to take it, and I got a 20 the first time. So I went back home and got my best friend Johnny so I can copy off of him. Johnny came in, took the test. He had test A, I had test B. So I couldn't cheat. So long story short, you get 3 chances to take this ASVAB test. On the 3rd chance, I had 6 months to pretty much study for this test. That's when my whole life got revealed to my mom. She was always gone. She didn't know I was flunking out of school. She didn't know I wasn't going to school because I was getting bullied, getting called nigger, all this other stuff. So I walk in, tell my mom what's going on. We didn't have much money, so she got me a tutor for 1 hour a week that cost $15. So I had 6 months, 4 hours a month to study. And what the tutor realized was I can't retain anything from all the toxic stress. I don't know if it's a learning disability or what. I just can't retain stuff. My mind was just messed up from my life. So how I learned was I had to get spiral notebooks. And literally, if I had a manual, I had to write down every single word of the manual. So what may take you an hour to learn would take me 6 or 7 days to learn, and just literally write it down. So I didn't really retain it, I just memorized it.
The reason why we go back to old habits is because our goals are too lofty. We're not achieving our goals fast enough. So what happens is, you know what? Oh man, we're very impatient nowadays. For me, it was good. I didn't have a phone. I was out of this world by myself. It was a race against David Goggins. It wasn't a race against, God, I want to look good for this person or that person. It was me. I got to change myself. So for me, if I lost 5 pounds in a week, I got a feeling. I allowed myself to feel proud of that. I didn't look at, I got to lose 106 pounds. I'm like, man, I went from 297, now I'm 292. In 1 week, man, I'm killing it. We're not proud of ourselves for the small accomplishments. What we need is we need this monstrosity of the thing to happen and say, I did it. Nah, there's a process that you have to go through, and patience is the process. And if we don't have patience, after a week, I haven't lost 30 pounds, man, I'm done. I'm over it. So that's what I found out with people, man. They're not patient enough to realize and to enjoy the moment, not live in it, just enjoy it. There's no finish line in life, but enjoy that moment. Roger that, man, I lost 5. Let me go 10 next week. So that's the whole thing about it. That's how people lose it. I hadn't run a 100-mile race, and I think it was about 6 years. I had, some heart surgeries. I had maybe some questioning in my mind about, I call it part-time savage. I started kind of going through this. I started getting, a little bit injuries, a little bit of this, a little bit of things that back in the day never slowed me down. So when I got my head out of my ass and realized that, hey, we have more left, we can still push harder, we're not there yet. I realized, talking to a guy named Cameron Haynes, who did this race, 240-mile race. And I go, is this the new level? Is this the new push? So when I decided to do that race, it was in the back of my mind like, man, I've really become an expert at running 100-mile races. So for me, this was the new level, the 200+ mile race. And what was so amazing about that, as you probably read in the book, I had a hard time the first time doing it. I came back and did better. But what's amazing about the human mind is that it becomes your new norm. Like to think that I can run 200 miles, 240 miles, and that becomes like running 50. I never thought that was possible. This is why I'm always pushing that limit, because I know that within pushing these limits, there's always more. So I end up doing almost like back-to-back 200-mile runs. When the 200-mile race, 240-mile race was hard at once, it became something that was very easy after I figured it out. Well, everybody, it's Groundhog's Day again for David Goggins. If you pan it down here, you see it's about 3 o'clock in the morning and there's not a car or a person in sight. If you pan over here, it's the same thing. Not a car or a person in sight. People want to know where I find my strength at, where I get my strength. I get it from a lot of places, but right now, this morning, I'm getting it from, there's not a that's up. There's not a car, there's not a person. Everybody's in their bed, sleep, dreading that it's a Monday, hate it's a Monday, and I'm loving it. I'm loving that. Where everybody's getting weaker, I'm getting stronger. It's not about the running, the swimming, the push-ups, the sit-ups. It's about what those things do for your mentality. You don't get better on the daggone couch. You get better by coming out here and getting after it every daggone day. Stay hard.